Hi everyone, it's Cello, and today I'm gonna be giving you guys a little life update as to where I've been. This is kind of an eventful story, so I planned to do it as just like a video without doing anything, but I thought might as well play Infinity Nikki since I haven't played it in a while, and I do think you guys like listening to me while also watching me play, so we're gonna do that. But before we get into anything, I want to take a moment to speak on some issues that are happening in my country, the Philippines, before anything else. I think it's so important to bring awareness to the political issues that are ongoing in my country right now. I'm gonna try to do this at the start of every video because frankly I don't think that there is enough media coverage of what is happening here. So this is the second time I'm recording this section of the video because I do feel that the first time I did, I was overly emotional to the point where I was not able to deliver information in a understandable way. So I just want to do that because the point of this is not only to express my anger and dissatisfaction and concern for Filipino people um, on in regards to how the government and the president are blatantly corrupt and hurting the Filipino people. The main point of this is to spread awareness because I don't think that there is enough media coverage that is happening as regards to what's happening right now. So, for those who are unaware, from 1965 to 1986, we were under the presidency of Ferdinand Marcos, who was inarguably one of the most corrupt politicians to ever be seated as president in our country. There are so many atrocities that happened under his reign. There was money laundering, pocketing of the Filipino people's funds, and violence, as Marcos declared martial law. Basically, martial law allowed the unjust killing of so many Filipino people without consequence. The Marcos family has stayed wealthy, and even as they were ousted during the People Power EDSA revolution, we successfully ousted Marcos, but it did not stop the Marcos family from maintaining their family's hold on political dynasties and corruption. Our current president is the son of Ferdinand Marcos, and how did this happen? I can only attribute to widespread disinformation, historical revisionism, which is happening in our educational systems. Everything is being manipulated by those who are in power. Um, there are articles and information out there about how the Marcos family has manipulated media sources and has paid businesses that manufacture this information and through short form content, TikToks and all this, which obviously targets the poor, people who do not have enough money for education, to combat this level of disinformation, especially also elderly people who are not tech savvy enough to distinguish fake news from real news. So it's a mix of all of that, disinformation, historical revisionism, and historical revisionism happens in schools, in the educational systems of public schools. A lot of public schools do not even cover the atrocities that happened over the Marcos era. In fact, some educational curriculums in public schools glorify the Marcos era, say that it was the golden age of the Philippines, and blatantly covers up the atrocities and the blatant corruption that happened under his reign. Now, our president right now is the son of Ferdinand Marcos, and last September 21, there was a rally in which, of course, the Filipino people are expressing their dissatisfaction, their well placed and incredibly valid anger against our government and the administration of our current president. One particular issue that is at the forefront of all of this is the issue of the flood control projects. So, one of the biggest issues in the Philippines, something we struggle with for many decades now, is how floods and storms affect the poor. Storms, rainy season is not, it's not sweater weather, it's not cozy season. People's homes are being destroyed because of the lack of disaster mitigation when it comes to floods and storms. People being displaced, their homes just being completely destroyed, and them being rendered shelterless and helpless. The poor, who are already struggling, are made to struggle more, which is why flood control projects are so incredibly important in this country. Now, what's happening right now is that um, where the fuck is the flood control money? Where is it going into? The past few instances that we've experienced, storms and floods in this country have been one of the worst to date. It's been so incredibly terrible, and there's clearly our money that we pay for these projects to help our people is clearly going into the pockets of these politicians and not into actual projects. There have been reports of ghost projects. So, as per the president's report, there is over 5,000 flood control projects and more than 500 billion pesos being allocated into these flood projects. But where the fuck is it? Like the last few storms, poor were made to suffer more than ever before. And so we're clearly seeing that our money is not going into it. That's one of the things people rallied for, and it's something that we need to stay angry and dissatisfied about, because 500 million pesos is not a fucking joke. Like, that's so huge. And so what is happening now is that during September 21, people rallied, um, and people were hurt, were unjustly arrested, faced violence from police forces. It was just a shit show. And if you are in the Philippines and you check social media, you will see right away that we're being silenced in the most horrid ways possible, being arrested and being beaten. People were beaten violently, and deaths had occurred. The media is trying to erase that fact and make it seem that the police forces were acting accordingly, but no. Do not believe that for a second. People I know were hurt. Personally, no. So, I think it's very important to bring awareness to something as important as this. Something we need to be angry about, we need to be upset and serious about. Of course, my channel is a place for love and warmth, and I want to make this a safe space outside all the atrocities that happen in the real world. But that being said, I think it's so important to bring up these things. You're always free to skip this section of my video if it makes you uncomfortable, but I highly suggest that you sit through it. It's uncomfortable, but it's important. It's so important. For me, it's uncomfortable, like seeing the media coverage of people getting hurt and violence happening. I'm very weak to that. I don't know why. Like, it just makes me cry. I'm very emotional and sensitive about seeing the hardship of other people. So it's uncomfortable for me, especially. But I feel like I have to sit through it. I am privileged enough that I can completely block those things out if I chose to, because I'm well taken care of. But that being said, I don't want to choose that route of sitting and being blissfully unaware. That will never be in line with my morals as a person. It's uncomfortable, but it will never be as uncomfortable as being those people and being hurt in the way that they were hurt. So we need to stand with them in whatever way we can. If that's spreading awareness, talking about it, any way we can bring it to light is just so important. So I just wanted to talk about that. Anyway, if you sat through that or if you skipped it, you're here now, and I just want to say hello to everyone. I miss you guys so much, and I say that every video, but it rings true every single time. Um, I just wanted to make a video giving a life update on what has been going through in my life, and like it's rare that something this insane occurs in my life, so I might as well make a video about it, because like why not. Oh, I don't know what that is. Something like from the last mirror crown carried over, I guess. Okay, but anyway, the point of this video is not Infinity Nikki. Infinity Nikki is just here to keep us calm and to keep us entertained while I also speak. So, where have I been? If you guys have been following my videos, you know I had a job, and so I worked at an art gallery. Every fiber of my being wants to say what it is, but I don't think I can. The gallery that I worked at, but maybe if you're following me on Instagram, like you remember seeing me repost stuff that I made for them, because I was staff there, particularly for social media. And I want to share my accounts of what happened, the workplace exploitation and labor violations that had occurred to me, not just to have an outlet, because quite literally I'm a bit tired of talking about this, because I've talked about it to so many people, but I'm also doing this because I know that my audience, you tune into me because you're similar to me, you have similar interests as me. Maybe some of you are in the same place as me, and I think that I want to dedicate my life to helping people out, using my experience to, you know, help people out and avoid the same mistakes that I've made. So yeah, basically I entered this job because I I really wanted to get into the industry of art galleries and fine arts. Quite frankly, I've been feeling some sort of exhaustion with digital art. In my previous jobs, I've been a graphic designer, and I've been feeling burnout in terms of digital design. And it's partially because of AI art. I feel that the digital space for creativity it's not it's no longer safe. It doesn't feel safe. It's not what it used to be. Oh my god, look at the clipping. So at least in terms of my art, I wanted to go back to traditional mediums, painting, crafting, all those things. And so I really wanted to work at an art gallery for that same reason, is that I love physical art, tangible art. And that's not to undermine digital art, digital work as a medium, because I still truly appreciate and hold value to digital art that is created by humans in every sense of the means. It's more of a personal issue where like I got tired of making digital things, because I'm like, I'll be making something and I'm like sad because like, oh, when AI can make this in 2 seconds, it was a depressing cycle of thought, which I don't recommend. It's not healthy at all. Oh, I finished it, but I just couldn't help it, you know. And so I've been really eager to work at an art gallery, thinking that, you know, this is the space for me. And then, so I got an offer at an art gallery, and like immediately I was happy. I was just like over the moon because here it was exactly what I've been dreaming of. I want to work where I want to work. Ooh. And so that's what happened. I took the job, and there were immediate red flags that we weren't provided contracts and that the pay was very low. Um, I think it's okay to share this, but it is like 700 pesos a day, which you can do the math for whatever currency. Ooh. Okay, I haven't gone over these, but honestly, I really want to pull on them, but I don't think I can. Considering, well, I'll see up until the last day. Let's look at the deep echoes. Oh, that's cute. Wait, before I continue my ramble, I also like this one, but I don't see myself using the dress too much. I really like the hair. Let's see. I really like the hair. Ooh, scary boots. I would have gotten this if the guitar were detachable or an accessory, but it's not. Anyway, so I took that job. And there were so many red flags right off the bat, right? Like it was, the pay is very low. And um, from the beginning, we didn't really have a proper schedule, so I started on a Friday, and then I started on a Friday, and then I was like, "Am I coming in tomorrow?" It's a Saturday, and the only thing that was said to me was, "The gallery is open every day." So to me, that was like, "Oh my freaking god, am I like gonna go? Am I gonna? Is this like everyday work on site?" And it just got worse. Like holidays would come up, and we were still expected to come to work. That is without additional pay or without like even acknowledgement. Like no one would even acknowledge that it was a holiday, or they would say, "Oh, it's a holiday," but we would be there, and it's like nobody's acknowledging that we shouldn't be there. Like it's just normal. It's just normal for them, um, for those things to occur, you know, which is like I, from my understanding, that's a workplace violation, right? That's a labor violation. Um, and so I also worked on weekends, which my days off were Wednesdays and Thursdays, which is quite hard for me because my weeks felt longer for some reason. And I worked on Sundays, which I don't know if there are any labor laws in place for that, but I think that I don't know if that should be a higher pay for working on the weekends, but anyway, yeah, we were completely understaffed, which, as you can tell, it was very hard. Everyone was stressed every day because there was so much being done, and it wasn't just one business of the art gallery. It turns out that there were multiple businesses from the same owner, which obviously, if you have a different business, you need a different team for that. Like if you have an art gallery and then you have a restaurant, or you have a, what do you call it, or you have like a perfume business, obviously those entail multiple different teams because that's a whole other business. But what happened was we would have to also work for the other business, and so that was stressful. um so yeah, and it was even more so stressful because it's we were completely understaffed. There was no HR, there was no financing, there was no admin. It was simply gallery assistants, and I was the sole marketing staff here. So that was very right off the bat questionable. And as the gallery assistants, considering there was no HR and other teams that would naturally be in a company, in a workplace, they had to undertake every other role, all those other roles. They had to be HR, they had to be financing, they had to be inventory, they had to be email marketing, like every single thing. They had to be graphic designers too. Um, and so roles really were not well defined. And you can imagine how much worse that is considering we were being paid very low. For me in particular, I had a niche. Luckily, since my role was marketing, it should have been more defined, but it really wasn't. Like, um, nobody was really giving me tasks. I had to be like my own leader in that sense. And sorry, I keep going back to this girl. So that was hard because I would also have to, let's say, man the front desk, sometimes coordinate with artists about their artworks if they had it delivered, help with pullouts. Pullout is when an artist requests that their artwork be pulled out from the gallery for whatever reason. Pickups and just everything pertaining to the gallery duties. I obviously had to I obviously had to be part of that. And then being the sole marketing, it was very hard to be the only one working on like our marketing strategies. I remember there was a time I was scolded because I had not reached out to media outlets for coverage for the gallery, and I was told like you should have done that a week ago, and I was like I wasn't even here yet a week ago. Like I just got hired, and my roles, my duties aren't particularly defined, especially because we were not provided with a contract. I did the best as I could as a graphic designer and content planning. That's also what I did. Creating reels and posters and such, which is also very difficult because, as you all know, I have so much experience in graphic design and in marketing roles. So I understand the way that social media works and how a general audience consumes social media, what they like to see. So, but in trying to apply that knowledge into my actual work at the gallery, I was often denied by my managers, the owners, because it didn't fit their taste. But the difficulty in that is that their taste is not what is in, what is trendy, what will bring the company into the algorithms. It's their taste does not translate into what actually does well nowadays in social media. And I really tried to push my ideas and what I believe will help, but I just kept getting denied, rejected, and even was treated in a condescending way. Um, that was really difficult for me because then I began to question my own talent, which I really shouldn't have. It should not have made me question myself, but like, I'm a very sensitive person, I value the ideas of other people, so to be treated in such a way that my ideas were not good really made me question myself for a bit. And it wasn't like proper critique, it was like, um, the way these things happen, like content checking, for example, and how I've experienced it in my previous jobs is, for example, you make a poster, you send it to the higher ups, usually like the marketing head, and they will give you a list of revisions, um, and you apply it and then submit it. Good, all good. It usually takes 1 to 2 passes, but the criticism or the revisions are straightforward and listed down so that it's an easy, streamlined process. But what happened here was like I would send something, they would give me one critique, I'd do it, and then I would send it in, they'd give another critique on something that was in the previous pass that they could have given previously with the other critique. And so I have to edit that, and then I'll send it again, and then they change their mind on another thing. Like they don't give it in one go. They keep finding mistakes in every pass, which is obviously hard. It makes it hard to make any content or to push through with the content plan itself, because we're really like fixating on a single piece of a reel that they're finding multiple things in multiple passes which they could have just said in the first place. Like and yeah, and there were other times that I received critique that I don't feel was valid. Like I had interviewed artists for a reel during their exhibit, and I found their answers to be great because they were very honest, down to earth, and interesting and relatable. Like one artist talked about how for this one artwork he had art block, he didn't know what to do for it. So what came to mind was to let his son help him. And that's a story, right? The son who um the son helped him with a few paint uh splotches. He was a part of the process, and that made the artist very proud of the work, that even if it didn't get sold, like it meant a lot to him because his son was involved in the process of it. I think that's a great story. I think that if you put that on social media, people are going to be interested because it's relatable. Parents of children are going to look at that and feel relatable, like they can relate. But then I was told that they didn't like the answers of the artist. One of the reels I passed, the critique. This is like a finished reel, edited, audio synced, captions put, everything of an artist interview, and the critique was she didn't like the artist answers, and I was just dumbfounded because what am I gonna do? Like the artist isn't here. That was like a one-time thing, and I I was scolded because she said it's your job. If you see that the artist's answers aren't good, ask them again to repeat it. And I was like, but that was a good answer, and I don't feel comfortable. It's already a lot to ask artists for their time for an interview. A lot of artists are very shy and not well spoken, but they are helping us market our company by giving us their time. And so it feels unfair to tell them, I don't like your answer, repeat it. Um, of course, if they do say something that is out of line, then obviously I would have to do that. But for something like that, that was a very beautiful answer. I would not have thought to ask them to repeat themselves, because to me that was a good answer. But again, in that place, we were following the tastes of the managers, the upper positions. So it is really, really, really stressful. And then at the end of the day, it would be my fault still that we weren't getting enough engagement. But it's like I'm trying to make ideas that will get us engagement, but you reject it, and then when I put out what you want, it doesn't do well because that's not what does well. So it was really stressful on that end. And that was just the stress that I was experiencing with regards to my work. But the other assistants were experiencing much more stress, again, because there were multiple businesses that they had to handle. And with that came like I remember my two other coworkers. One of them had to handle financing stuff, and like she's never had that experience. Both of them actually have had to handle all sorts of facets of like handling a corporate business, which these it's their for these two other hires, it was their first job with such low pay, and we never had experience on onboarding, so everything was like in Filipino, it's like kapa-kapa. Parang yun, kinakapa-kapa pa namin yung how things would go. I don't know how to say that in English, but it's like we're still getting a feel of how things run, especially because we were never given a formal onboarding. Things were just like passed down to us at the last minute when it was really needed. Like, we would be told an artist is gonna pick up this artwork today, and we're like, where's that artwork? The workplace itself, the storage of our artworks was non-existent. There was no proper storage. It was just artworks being scattered around everywhere. So you can imagine, it was like hundreds of paintings, and then all that's being given to us, the information is an artist is gonna pick up this painting with a girl, and it's like, babe, where is that painting? We were never given an onboarding as to which paintings are, where to find them, how to process a pickup of a painting, things like that they're so important. They're only taught us in the last minute when it's actually happening, and then we were berated and talked down to because we were not performing well, when really we just didn't have the necessary information beforehand. We really weren't being treated right, which makes me really sad. I would say, ever since being medicated, I'm a very calm and patient person, so I'm willing to put up with a lot of things. As you can tell, I put up with that job for a month, and when everyone was telling me to leave, I stayed. Um, and even though, like, all the reels and content and ideas I was making kept getting rejected or unjustly criticized, because I have worked in the industry of graphic design and marketing. I am no newbie or newcomer to, let's say, revisions and critique. I'm very open to those things, and I believe that they are integral to the process of making good art, good design, is having someone to help you and to point out things that you wouldn't have noticed. But again, the critique that I was getting, the comments felt unjust. And another thing was, like, I was in charge of making posters, and so I would send it to them. Again, like, also another problem was that our managers were not responsive. So they would, but then there would be off times that they would check it, and like they would say, okay, the poster's good, and then like, okay, we can schedule that for posting. And then on my day off, my other coworkers are actually at the gallery, so it's like we're taking shifts or alternating on our day off. It happened like thrice or twice that my poster would be approved, and then while I was absent, management would have one of the assistants edit it and then post it. And I was like, honestly, you guys can just tell me to fix it. Like, why tell me it's okay? And then it just felt wrong. And so many things were wrong. And like, all of that is grossly incompetent and unfair working conditions. But I still put up with it. And I could have put up with it for longer had it not been for the last few days of my work, where we were berated and really talked down on by the owner. Now, at that point, it was like we were used to it because we had witnessed the owner and the managers yell at the other assistants who had been there for longer. We've noticed them get angry and aggressive, really. It was almost an everyday occurrence for them to be aggressive. And not only that, but many instances in that we just found it was normal for them to make fun of artists, especially the same artists that they were showcasing. which for me really hurt because again I joined this industry for the love of art, for the respect I have for the artists, um, and to see just how mean spirited the owners could be as to mock the same artists that they are showcasing, the same artists that are driving their source of income. It just really hurt me. I had heard things like, oh, lowbrow art is no substance. That's just like ginaya sa Japan or copied from Japan. Things like that, which really hurt to hear as someone who has a love and respect for all sorts of art. These people were like very forthcoming and upfront about how not all art is good art. Which I don't know what the general consensus or the popular opinion on that is, but I just think that's a rotten mindset to have when you run an art gallery in a business that is run by artists. I don't think it's fair to talk down on any sort of art. Maybe it will happen in passing, like, oh, I don't like this art, and that's okay to have your personal preferences. But to mock the artists, their work, and say that it's no substance when I'm sure we can all agree that art isn't willy nilly. Like you put your heart and soul into that, and it's not fair. You don't ever let anyone talk down or berate you on something you put your heart and soul into. That's just so against what I believe. And then, yeah, just the last few days were really hard because there was one day where it was just me and the other new hire. So, one marketing staff and one assistant because the others couldn't make it because they were sick. And we were in direct communication with the owner, and there was a lot she was asking us to do, and an added layer to that is that when she messages us, it's very vague. Like she'll say, painting na mais, pick up, and it's like we have to decode that message. Obviously, a painting with corn for pickup, but then where is the painting? Who's picking it up? What time? Do we give them a certificate? What documents do we have signed? Where is the painting? Can we get more specific than painting with corn? And then um, the worst part is that as soon as we clocked in, like the pickup for that painting happened. It wasn't specifically that painting. Painting with corn is just an example. And to maintain anonymity, although I am being very specific with things now. But yeah, so the people, the buyers immediately came, and me and the new hire were like only beginning to understand what was happening. Like, where was the painting? We didn't know. What was the info? Who's the artist? Like, these are things that were not given to us, and so we had to ask our coworkers through online, even though they weren't there. And it was just really, really stressful because, uh, again, they were only speaking to us through online, so they didn't know. And then, well, we tried our best. We were able to find the painting. Um, and then, what happened? We had the buyers um, take the painting, obviously, and they were very kind. We had a nice talk with them. But then, right after that, we got a call from the owner, and she was livid with us that why did we not call her when they came. And it was like, I understand the mistake that we made in not calling her, but um, from our perspective, it just happened so quickly. And when the owner gives us tasks, we're under the impression that um, we have to work with what she said and communicate with the other gallery assistants, because that's just how we believed it to work. Again, it didn't occur to us that we should call the owner directly when it happens, especially because it happened so fast. We were looking for the painting, and I was tending to the buyers. I don't quite know how to put it into words, but it's like, imagine you're a graphic designer in a company, and the owner says you have to make a design, you have to make a poster um about this, and then the owner, yeah, they tell you to do that. You When you get that task, you usually report to your fellow workers, like graphic design team, on how to do it. You don't exactly have like a long winded communication with the owner, because that's the owner. It's not their job to delegate to you the specifics. That's the job of your manager, of your creatives head, of your marketing head. So that's what was going through her head and why we didn't call her. But then, yeah, she got really heated on the phone and she called us. She said na we're palpak, which means we're failures in English. She told us that we're incompetent, and she really raised her voice in all of this in a way that, like, it just rendered me and my coworker silent. Like, we felt, we didn't know what to feel. Like, we couldn't even cry. And the worst part was, like, she was texting us, and I was trying to explain to her the situation, that, oh, I was trying to answer each of her questions because she was asking a lot of questions. And I tried to explain to her what happened, or I tried to answer her question, and then she answered me and said, bullshit. Um, Not all of your messages are nonsense. Kumain muna kayo kasi parang something something. She said something along the lines of, you need to eat because your brains aren't working, in a Filipino way. And that was like the last straw for me, that I wasn't willing to stay in a job where I'm spoken to that way. And my coworkers too, because for all of it I had stayed kind and respectful and patient, even when I was being talked down on many times for my attempts to just help um the gallery. I really tried to stay patient and kind through it all, because I know that's the only way out. I know that's the only way I know to be. Like, I can't imagine being like that, kasi I can't imagine being like the owner, and treating people so blatantly unfairly, and talking down to them, and talking about them behind their backs. Like, the moment we quit, we found out a lot of things too, me and the new hires, that management was saying we weren't good, like hindi daw kami magaling and stuff like that, which, again, this is our first job, we're underpaid, we're doing our best, we're wearing so many different hats, and while we're being talked down on every day and berated, um and underpaid, and not even being able to have a life outside of it, because it was a 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. job, and for like we would often have to overtime, because our managers would only arrive late, and like by 7 we should be out, but by 7 that's the time that our managers arrive and give us critique, and so we end up leaving at 7:30 or 8 or even later, and it's such a stressful time, I'm telling you guys. I have had previous experiences in corporate work, unlike my coworkers. So to me, everything was more blatantly apparent. I think it's another form of exploitation, that they only hire people who have little experience in work. Like I saw the work email babe. I saw so many much higher achieving professionals apply, and it makes sense why my company chose the people who have little experience in first time jobs, because then it would be easier to like normalize this inappropriate behaviors and workplace violations among people who've never had a job. Like they're just gonna think this is normal. And so, yeah, it was really sad and scary for all of this to unravel. And like I thought I would be there for much longer, because honestly, the days where the owners weren't there to like berate us felt bearable. Of course, it was very difficult for me not having time to do any of the things I like, because I was reporting to that job Monday or 5 days a week, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And by the time the days off rolled around, I just felt so dead, so tired from being berated and mocked and talked down on. And so the day that like I really couldn't take the I really couldn't take anymore the verbal abuse that we were experiencing. That's when I decided to quit on the spot, and I was able to do that luckily, since we never signed a contract in the whole time we were there, and we found out that employees who were there for a year haven't even signed a contract. So everything is really crazy. Everything is really crazy. And so I am telling you this story because so many people had suffered working for them. I was able to talk to an ex-employee who had a very similar account to me, and who was also very negatively and deeply affected by what happened during her stay. And I want to make it a point to tell my audience, especially young women, I didn't even get into that yet, but there was also it was not a safe place for female employees, because my coworker was getting lewd comments from the managers about her body. And actually, the male managers, were very comfortable with making comments about female bodies. And it also occurred to me that, oh, maybe that's why they only hire mostly women. And sadly, in another interview I had at an art gallery, I was told pretty much the same thing, that in the art industry, more than any other industry, you're going to experience creepy men preying on you. And that's just something you have to deal with, which is really sad. But yeah, I wanted to talk to my viewers, you, about this, because I don't want any of you to ever go through what I had to go through. Especially my young female viewers. I don't want any of you to ever go through what I went through and my coworkers went through. I think that the world is not a safe space for women and girls, so I will make it my job to talk to you guys and to talk to younger women like you are my little sisters. And not just women, queer people, non-binary people, trans folk. I want to talk to you because, oh my gosh, actually, me and the new hires that were exploited, women and non-binary people. And I feel like we are the most exploited in industries such as this. I just really wanted to make it a point that you don't ever stand for someone berating you even if it's in the workplace. If someone talks down on you or makes you feel less than in such a way that you feel is not right, is not professional, you leave. Do not stand for it. Girls, I'm telling you, do not. It will hurt you so bad in the long run, and it's better to protect yourself. I want to teach you girlies to um what's the word? Train your muscles for determining when a situation is not right, when you're being exploited, especially in the workplace. If you feel something wrong in your gut, and this can pertain to not just like entering a job or entering something, this can pertain to public situations where you feel uncomfortable. If you ever feel sense in your gut that something is wrong, don't just brush it away. Sometimes it can be like a mistake or wrong, like you you misread the situation and you have your anxieties about it aren't real. That can happen, but it's more important to give that gut feeling space and to examine it rather than to just brush it away. I don't want any of my viewers to ever go through what I went. And again, that's not just in terms of workplace exploitation, but also in terms of, being mistreated, especially by men. It's such a scary world out there, and I have such a strong passion for protecting women and girls because, um, I don't know, I attribute a lot of my, um, I attribute the comfort I have felt growing up to my mother and to my sister. Those two women, I hold with very much regard, and so I feel the same with like other women is that I want to be someone who can protect you. I am a freaking girl's girl through and through. Like you cannot take the girl's girl out of me. Like yeah, I'm just very passionate about looking out for my other girls, non-binaries, queers. It stuck with me when that interviewer in one of my job interviews said that you're young and you're pretty and um you're gonna run into a lot of creepy men in this industry more than any. It stuck with me. It makes me sad to think of how vulnerable we are, how easily preyed upon we are, especially by older men in the Philippine art industry. And just like it was so stressful for me because like I was going through that with my work, right? And then one of the days that I was going home, like, because I commuted every day to that work, which was really stressful too. But one of my tricycle drivers was acting a bit uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to assume negatively of someone, but I felt a bit uncomfortable because he knew apparently where I lived, and he asked to give me his number so he could be the one to drive me to and fro. And it could have been harmless, but I just felt weird with the way he was asking a lot of personal questions and just happened to know where I live. Like he was like, "You're the one that lives here, right?" And I just felt uncomfortable, and that made my commutes scary. So it was an added layer of stress. So I just want to really urge my female audience, my queer audience that I love so much, that you protect yourselves, you stay safe, especially now, um, after the rally. There's so much violence and wrongdoings that are going on that just go on. It, it happens without repercussions to the perpetrators. And that's also how I feel with like the job that I quit. Of course, I left, I got away, but they're gonna continue this cycle of exploiting workers. They already are. I think that's how many things work in the Philippines, is that the perpetrators, or in third world countries, um, and the genocides that are happening for the Palestinian people, it's always this unjust system or hierarchy where those who are in power stay in power, and those who are poor get poorer. Those who are exploited, those who exploit people will continue to exploit people for as long as they have the means, and people who have the means will continue to have the means because that's how rich people are. They just stay rich. And how do they stay rich? How do they stay rich? Is by exploiting the working class. I know that this is a heavier video and it's not our usual cutesy moment, but I ask you to allow me this one time to speak on such things that are much heavier, because it's true to my experiences and what's been happening to me. I don't want you to worry about me. I know you will, and that means so much to me, but I want to be your strong ate, older sister, that it's really hard what I went through, but I'm coping with it. And I don't want to make anybody sad or have negative feelings. In fact, I want people to come from this video with something good and positive rather than negative. Again, I want you to know that you never let anyone talk down on you. If you feel you're being mistreated, you walk away. And as girlies who are very vulnerable and preyed upon, you need to learn to protect yourself. I can only say these things through words, but it's up to you to, remind yourself every time of your worth and of your value, that you are so valuable, you need to be protected. I can take a lot of things. Talaga. I think I'm a strong person. But what I can't take is seeing other people hurt in the way, and I can't take seeing other people hurt. Kasi I know I can handle it. Other people, I worry. I'm such a, worrier. So, yeah. This video, again, it's not as joyful, sweet, serene as the rest, but I think it's so important, and I don't want to hide this side of me from you guys that is passionate and vocal about pressing issues. I don't want to be a channel that's just cutesy. Even though that is our main thing, we're cutesy, happy here. It's very important also to bring light to things that I feel are not right. Things that are clearly unjust need to be spoken about. And that's the general tone of this video. Workplace exploitation. I don't think I would have ever experienced that, but I did. Gosh, I did. And not just that, but what's happening in the country right now is very much, there's a need to speak on it. I'm going to include links to whatever donations or help that people need, because a lot of people during their rallies were unjustly hurt by police forces, and that's putting it lightly. People were arrested unjustly. People experienced violence unjustly. So a lot of people are, or not a lot, but like there are some Filipino people asking for help with their bail. Maybe if any of you are open to donating to that or just spreading the word is very important. There you go. Stay informed, stay angry, stay passionate, stay empathetic, stay loving, and stay concerned for others. I think that's what I really want to come across in this video is you need to stay concerned for others. That's my moral what's the word? That's like my core value and um my moral compass as a person is you need to stay concerned for others. You need to stay concerned for others. You can't just watch other people hurt. You can't just hurt other people. Everyone is worth respect and kindness. It's not right to treat people meanly, violently, aggressively. I hope that you guys take away something good from this. And know that in the next videos it will be much lighter. I will still make it a point to bring up what's happening in the country right now. Just bring up links and resources to help further educate everyone on the issues and to also help those who are directly being affected, whether that's by donations or spreading awareness. I'm gonna try to do that in every video. Just a little of your time, just a little minute talking about it might go a long way. I don't have the biggest audience, but as much as I can get the word out, I'm gonna do it. I'm also going to be doing much lighter videos starting after this, and I'm also gonna play Silent Hill F. So oh my gosh, you guys need to stay with me for that, for the ride. It's gonna be so freaking fun. I'm so hyped about it. That's something that's like keeping me sane right now. But yeah, I want you guys to know that I love you very much. Your kind comments have kept me through very hard times, and know that I will never take you for granted. The fact that you give me your time of day makes me very happy and makes me very protective of you. If you relate to me, I see you as a younger version of myself, or just like a younger sister, younger sibling, non-binary tea, that I need to protect, and I need to, while you're here, teach you some life lessons. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I know I didn't do much, but like I feel a bit overwhelmed right now. Yeah, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye.